Settle in and let's travel back to a time before the Great War to understand how the world found itself on the edge of an abyss. Close your eyes and imagine Europe in the late 19th century. A place of grand empires, glittering palaces, and simmering tensions that few could see building beneath the surface. Our story begins with an alliance, formed in the quiet corridors of power. In 1879, Germany and Austria-Hungary signed the Dual Alliance, a defensive military pact that promised each would come to the other's aid if attacked by Russia. It was a simple agreement, really born from shared concerns about the Russian Empire's ambitions. But this pact would become the first thread in a web that would eventually entangle all of Europe. Just 3 years later, in 1882, this alliance expanded when Italy joined, transforming it into the Triple Alliance. Italy sought protection and prestige, hoping to secure its position among Europe's great powers. 3 nations, now bound together by promises written on paper, promises that would be tested in ways none of them could imagine. But alliances breed counter-alliances, as they so often do. France, feeling isolated and threatened by Germany's growing strength, looked eastward for friendship. In 1894, France and Russia signed their own alliance, the Franco-Russian Alliance. 2 nations separated by vast distances, united by a common concern about German power. The chessboard was taking shape. Now, let's pause and consider Britain, the mighty island empire that had long prided itself on splendid isolation, avoiding permanent alliances on the European continent. But even Britain could not remain aloof forever. In 1904, Britain and France signed the Entente Cordiale, not quite a military alliance, but an agreement to resolve colonial disputes and cooperate diplomatically. Old rivals were becoming friends, drawn together by shifting sands of power. 3 years later, in 1907, Britain extended a similar hand to Russia, creating the Anglo-Russian Entente. And with this, the Triple Entente was born. France, Russia, and Britain, not bound by the iron promises of a military alliance like the Triple Alliance, but connected nonetheless by shared interests and growing suspicions. Europe was now divided into 2 camps, each watching the other with increasing wariness. As these alliances formed, another force was stirring across the continent: nationalism. In the Balkans particularly, a region of southeastern Europe under the weakening grip of the Ottoman and Austro-Hungarian empires, various ethnic groups dreamed of independence and unity. Serbs, Croats, Bulgarians, and others imagined nations of their own, free from imperial rule. This passionate desire for self-determination would prove to be one of the most volatile ingredients in the mixture building toward war. Among these nationalist movements, one grew particularly significant: Panslavism, the belief that all Slavic peoples should unite under Russian protection and leadership. Russia saw itself as the guardian of Slavic peoples throughout the Balkans, a role that put it on a collision course with Austria-Hungary, which ruled over millions of Slavs within its own borders. 2 empires, eyeing the same region, each convinced of its rightful influence. There was something else building, something harder to see but perhaps even more dangerous: the arms race. Between 1900 and 1914, European powers dramatically increased their military spending and stockpiled weapons at an unprecedented rate. Germany expanded its army, Britain built more dreadnought battleships, and France fortified its borders. Each nation told itself it was simply ensuring its own defense, but together they were loading the powder keg. These were the opening movements of our story. Alliances formed, nationalisms awakened, and armies grown strong. Europe found itself divided into 2 armed camps, bound by treaties and promises that would turn a regional conflict into a continental catastrophe. The stage was set, though few realized it yet.